Hi, this is Akhilendra Singh. In this video, I am gonna show you how to create a Flappy Bird game with a SpriteKit in Xcode 8. Here is the demo. You can also find this tutorial on Sweettutos website, the written tutorial for this. I have written this tutorial myself about 6 months ago, and I got a lot of requests for creating a video tutorial for this. That's why I am creating this video. So I'll be following along with the tutorial. So let's get started. Let's fire up Xcode and create a new Xcode project. Let's select the game, click next, give it a use Beetle 2, and the game technology is SpriteKit, next, and create. Change the simulator to iPhone 6. So first of all, you have to download the assets for the game. So you can there is a link to download somewhere here. We create the game, then we go to the here, and we turn off the landscape left and landscape right. So now if you go down the tutorial, here you can download the assets, and there should be a file in that. Here is the assets downloaded. Let's drag all the assets in the Xcode. You can place wine sound anywhere, so, and make sure copy items if needed selected, and then drag and drop player atlas also anywhere, copy items if needed checked, and then go to the assets, and here also go to the assets, delete the app icon that is already there. You can also remove the space if we are not gonna use that, and select all the assets and drag and drop it in the Xcode, and then also drag and drop the app icon. We have all the assets in the Xcode now. So let's go back to the tutorial and see what we have to do next. So next we go to the game scene class, which is the SK scene class, and we place these functions in that. So I'm going to copy it and go back to Xcode, go to game scene, and we have all this code here, and this is basically some default code that Xcode provides. We are not going to use any of that, so let's delete all of this and add our code. I think I've done something wrong. No, it's okay. I noticed that you have to add UI touch also. So now let's go back and see. Now we have to go to game view controller.swift class and change and paste this code into there. So let's copy the code, go to game view controller, and select everything. And so here this is the function when the view loads, and we do not want to rotate the screen, so we return false here. And what orientations we are supporting, so we want to support all upside down orientations, but not the landscape orientations. That's what is set here, and we want to hide the status bar, so we return true here. So now we're going to create a new file called game elements. So let's create a new file. It's gonna be a Swift file. Name it game elements and create. Now we are gonna put all the game elements here, like bird, and pillar, etc. And then we need to copy this code. To use SpriteKit game technology, we need to import the SpriteKit. Then this is the collision bitmask categories for different assets we are gonna use. So now we have already added the assets. So we again we have to go to the game view controller Swift file and place this code in the Viewdidload method. So what it does is that it takes the game scene class from here and scales it to the assigns scales it to the bound size of the bounds of the screen and then presents it. And we don't want to show the frames per second count at the bottom, and we also don't want to show node count. And ignore sibling order. What it does is that we want to put our elements in specific order, not just in any random order, so we set it to false. And scale mode is resize fill. That's how our elements are gonna scale. Now let's go further, and we see here game scene has to conform to escape physics contact delegate. So let's copy that, go back, and game scene, and assign it the delegate. We have to place this code right after class declaration. So here we basically create a variable bool to see if the game has started, and this is for if the player has died, this to get the coin sound, this is the score that we are gonna keep record of, this is for score level, it is gonna be a scalable node, this is for high score, tap to play level, restart button, pause button, and the logo image, and this is for the wall pair that we are gonna have hanging down from up and from the top and the bottom, and this is for an XK action that we are gonna see later on. So now let's move ahead and place this create scene file in the game scene class. So what this does is that it takes the scene and makes a physics body from the edges of the screen, so that we can detect if the player touches the screen or collides with it, touches the bounds of the screen. So it's not gonna be dynamic, it's not gonna be affected by gravity, it's gonna always stay there, and the contact delegate is set to self, and we assign it a background color. And here you can see we have assigned it the category bit mask. So this is collision bit mask background category. This category is coming from here. Let's see here. So we have created bird, pillar, flower, and ground category. So we want that to be the ground in the ground category, and we want it to be collide with bird, and we want it to also contact test it for the bird collisions. So what's collision and contact means? Collision contact bit mask means when the bird collides with the boundary, and contact test bit mask is also when the both come in contact with each other. So for collision, when the bodies collide, they are gonna bounce from each other with some velocity, like actual bodies behave. But in contact test, the bodies are not gonna behave like a physics bodies, and they're just gonna notify us that they have contacted each other. So here again, next in the create scene function, we have to paste this code. So let me get some space here to create scene. So what this does is that it runs for 0 and 1 number, and it creates the background for our view. So how we create the background is that you can see here, we place the same background on the screen, and we create another background image, and we place it off the screen. So when both the images start moving leftwards, and when the first image reaches here off the screen, then it immediately placed here, and now this one shows on the screen and this one is off the screen. So that action keeps looping, and that gives us a feel that the background is moving continuously. So this is the background we have created from the BG image that we have in the assets, and its anchor point is gonna be the corner of the screen, so it's 0 0, and we are gonna position it width. When it's 0, then it's gonna place right on the screen, and when it's 1, then it's gonna be placed on the right side of just right edge of the screen. We are gonna assign it a name so we can reference it later, and its size is gonna be the bounds, our view size, and then we add it to the scene. So now we have to add this function in the update function. See here. So if your game is running at 20 frames per second, then this function is gonna be called 20 times per second. So if you wanna make any changes to the scene, then the frames are rendered, so you can do that here. So what we have done is here is that if the game has started, the player has not died yet, then we wanna get the background, and we wanna move it to the left. So we move it by 2 points each time a frame is rendered. So yeah, this is what this code does. Now moving on, we wanna call the create scene function. It did move to view. When we move to view, we wanna create the scene, and then let's see. We again go to the create scene function and paste this code inside of there. This we have created the bird sprite here, and this is just adding these textures to that array of the bird sprite, so that we can loop through each of these elements, and it will seem like the bird is flying. So now we have to go to game elements.swift and copy paste this code in there. So let's go to game elements, and paste this code here. So this is the code for creating the bird in the scene. So we have this sprite, we take the atlas for the bird here, and we take the first texture in the atlas and we assign it to bird, because at first we are not gonna animate the bird when the scene starts. We are gonna animate the bird when the game starts. So when the player starts touching the screen, that's when the bird is gonna animate. So currently it's gonna just stay there without animation. Its size we have assigned it to 50/50. You can tweak it to match your needs, and the position is gonna be exactly in the center. Physics, we are gonna assign a physics body of a radius of its half the size of the bird, so that will be a circle covering the bird, and then we wanna make it behave like a physics body, so we have assigned it a linear damping of 1.1 and restitution of 0. Linear damping is basically how much you want the retardation in it, in its motion, and restitution is how much the relative velocities are gonna be for the elements that it collides with. So you can read more about it and tweak it to match your needs. So the category bit mask for this physics for the bird is gonna be bird category, and we are gonna test the collisions of it with the pillars and the ground. and we are going to test the context with pillar, flower, and ground category. We don't want the collision with flower, because we don't want our bird to bounce off the flower when it collides with it. And bird is initially not going to be affected by gravity, so we currently set it to false, and it's dynamic, so that's true, and then we return the bird. If we go further, game scene.swift file, so uh, let's go back to game scene and create scene, and we add this code. So what this does is it calls the create bird function. Let's see, I just get texture. It calls the create bird function and adds it to the scene, and then we want to prepare the bird to animate. So we create an SK action with all the textures in the bird sprite, and we want to animate for 0.1 second, and we want to repeat it forever, so repeat forever. Now if you run the project, then you will see the background and the bird in the middle of the screen. So let's see if we are there. We are getting an error. Let's see. Okay, we don't want a placeholder there, so let's run again and see. Okay, great, we have the background and the bird. So now let's stop and go back and move further. So game elements, we have to put the following code in the game elements. So let's copy it, go back to game elements and put it here. So what this does is that here you can see we create a restart button. It's just a sketch sprite node. We assign it a width, height, and then we position it in the middle of the screen, and we assign it a G position, how we want the layers to be positioned on our screen. We set its scale to 0 when it loads, and we add it to the scene, and then we scale it to its full width and height in the duration of 0.3. So it plays a scale animation, as you will see when I run the game. And here we create the pause button. It's almost same for creating the elements. Then we create the score level, and then we create highest score level in the top right corner of the screen. We create the logo and tap to play level. You can go through the code, and I'm sure you will understand all of this. So now we go back to the create scene and paste this code. So let's go to the game scene and paste this code in the create scene function. So what this code does is that we assign the score level with the create score level, and create score level is placed, we just placed it here. So it calls that function and gets the level, and then it adds as a child to the current scene. The same way, high score level, we also create the logo and tap to play level. Now let's move on, and in game scene.swift, in touches began method, now we go to the touches began method and paste this code in there. Let's see, go to the touches began and paste. So when the user starts touching the screen, then if the game is not started yet, then the game is started, and the bird starts being affected by gravity, because we want it to fall down, and when the user touches screen, we want it to go up. And we create the pass button to the bottom right of screen, so the user can pass the game. Then we have to hide the logo image, because it's not gonna be shown when the user plays in the game. So we scale it to 0.5 in a duration of 0.3 seconds, and then we remove it from the parent. And here type to play level is removed, and the bird is run the repeat action bird that we have created earlier. Here. So what this action does is that it animates the bird. So the bird is gonna start flapping its wings. We'll add pillars, some code here later on. And initially when the touches begin, we don't want to give any velocity to the bird. We only gonna apply some force, and that's gonna give it some velocity. So we apply impulse in the y direction, that is upward, with a magnitude of 40. That pushes the bird upward. And if the user touches screen second time, then the game has already started, so this code will not run, so else code will run. So now only we want to do is that if the bird has not died, if is died condition is false, so we don't apply any velocity, but we apply an impulse, the same impulse that we have done here. So now let's go back, and we also wanna add the pillars and flowers to the screen, so this is the code for that. Let's copy the code, go back to game elements, and paste this code right at the bottom. Okay, so this is the code for creating the pillars from hanging from top and bottom. We also have a flower between the top and bottom pillars that the user can collect, and it will increase its score. So here create the flower node, and here its flower is category. We want to test the contact of it with the bird, and then we create the wall pair. We give it a name of wall pair to reference it later. We create a top wall, bottom wall, and we position them on the screen. And then the images were too big for the screen, so I scaled it down to 0.5, and then we assign it a physics body to them so that the bird or other physics objects can interact with it. And I have used the same image for both the top wall and bottom wall. So we wanna rotate the image 180 degrees so that it can hang from the top. Otherwise, both the pillars will point to the top. So this is for the code. Let's see. We can use double pi here. It is double dot pi is the new function. Let's change it to that, and then we let's see, we want a CZ float there, so CZ float dot pi is also available, so let's directly use that, CZ float dot pi. And then we add the top wall and bottom wall to the wall pair, and we position it 1, and we wanna create the walls at we want to move the walls when the game is started, so that user has some challenge to user has to tap to move through the walls, like in the Flappy Bird game. So we want to move the walls, top and bottom walls, by a number somewhere between -200 and 200. You can adjust this to fit your needs, how much you want to move the walls. So it's just call these helper functions random to generate a number between -200 and 200. Then it shifts the walls. Then this action move and remove runs forever. Now let's move on. So now we wanna add the pillars. So we have seen this line in our code, so we are gonna add this line, replace that line with this code. So let's see, we have that in game scene, I think. Yeah, to do pillars here, so we are gonna add our code here. So we spawn the wall pair, first. So it calls the create walls function, and then we add it to the current scene, and then after a delay of 1.5 seconds, we want the walls to be created after 1.5 seconds. So this is a spawn delay sequence. We create a sequence, and this runs after first the wall is spawned, then delay, then is spawned, and this will run forever. So spawn delay forever, and then we run it. So the wall is gonna be created, and then it's gonna wait for 1.5 seconds. Then again it's gonna be created, and this is gonna run forever. So now you can again run the game and see you will see a screen like this. So let's run the game. So as you see, we have the logo here, we have the highest score level, we have the score level here, and tap anywhere to play level. So when you click on touch on the screen anywhere. Okay, now as you can see, the bird flies through the walls, and it currently doesn't interact with the anything, and as you can see, it also starts rotating when it collides with the pillars, and that's not the behavior we want, so we are going to tweak that later on. And as you can see, when it collides with the pillars, it drags off the screen. But as you can see, the background looks fine, the pillars are spawning, and the flowers are showing, so that's great, and the pause button is not currently working. So let's move on. So now we have to go to the game scene file, and we have to add this function there. So go to game scene and add this function at the bottom. So this function is called when the contacts begin. If any physics body comes in contact with any other body, so this function is called, and then we get the body from this contact object. So contact.body A, we assign it to first body, and then body B, we assign it to second body, and then we check if the first body is belongs to the category of bird, and the second body is pillar category, or if the first, because we don't know if the first body could be the bird or the pillar, and the second body could also be the bird or the pillar. So we're gonna test both of them. If the first body is bird or the second body is pillar, and if the first body is the pillar and second body is bird, then we're gonna run the same code. So we check that in the OR condition here. Or if the bird collides with the pillars or the edges of the screen, so we want to end the game. So here the bird category and the ground category, and the first body to ground category and bird category, and then if this condition is true, then we want to enumerate all the wall pair childs and set its speed to 0, and we want to remove all actions from that. And if the player is not died yet, we set the die to true, and we show the restart button, and we remove the pause button, and we remove any actions from the bird, that is animations and the touch actions. Otherwise, if this condition is not true, then maybe the bird has collided with the flower. So if the bird collides with the flower, then we want to increase the score, and we want to update the score level, and we want to remove the flower from the parent, and the first body can be bird or the flower. So we have another else if condition here. If the first body is flower and second body is bird, then we want to run the same action, but we don't want to remove the bird from the scene. We want to always remove the flower from the scene. So that's why we don't have it in the OR condition here. So now let's move on. Now we wanna restart the scene if the player dies. So this is the restart function. We place it right below here. So this will restart the game. It will remove all the children, remove all the actions, and it will set each die to false, game started false, score 0, and then it will call the create scene to make all those labels, etc. So we want to detect the location, and when the player touches the uh, uh, play pause buttons, then we want to perform some actions. So let's go to the touches begin function, and so we wanna detect the location of the touches. So for touch in touches, we get the location, and if the player has not, if the player has died, then the restart button must be showing, and if restart button contains that location that user has touched, then we get the highest score from the user defaults that we have, that we save here. And if the current score of the score level dot text is showing more score than the highest score, then we update the highest score in the user defaults. Otherwise, if it's nil, then we set it to 0, because it means it has not been initialized yet. So this keeps record of the highest score of the player. If the score is if the user has scored more than the highest score, then that score becomes the highest score. Otherwise, if the player has not died and the game is running, then the pause button must be showing in the screen. So if it contains the location, then we pause the game. It pauses to, and pause button texture, and we also change the texture of the pause button, so it shows play button instead of the pause button. So now, well, let's move on. So that's it, we have completed the game. Let's run and see if it works fine. That's it for this tutorial. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll be creating more video tutorials in the future. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I will soon create a tutorial to add leaderboards and show Google Ads in your game, so that you can also monetize your app. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching again. Bye, see you later.